Hello everyone, Fox here, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Since Undead Labs has their wish list and where people are talking about what they want in the game, I'm going to talk about something that I want, which is a brand new kind of boss enemy that I am calling the Night Terror. And this enemy is named after a poorly understood psychological condition. Basically, it's a extreme panic attack that typically happens at night. We're talking like really, really extreme, as in if somebody just flicked a switch in your brain to like maximum terror for no particular reason. It all just kind of happens out of nowhere, and it doesn't have to be associated with dreams or anything. It just happens out of nowhere. And on top of that, it's often coupled with sleep paralysis, which is a condition where you lose control of your body, sometimes completely, where all you can do is move around your eyes, but another times not as complete, where you might still have control over, like, your head, for example, but at any rate, basically, you lose control over most of your body, but you're conscious, so you have this incredible, just absolute terror just descends upon you out of nowhere, just grips you. And then on top of that, you often lose control of your body until basically your brain, like I said, it's poorly understood. The psychologists don't completely understand why these sleep terrors occur. But at any rate, this should give you an idea of what kind of enemy you're going to be dealing with. Anyways, let's get started. First with some background information. Who is the Night Terror? It's going to be this boss enemy, so it's going to be very, very rare to encounter the Night Terror, and it only appears in the Nightmare Zone, which I think is appropriate. Basically, it's something that you have to be brave to face the Night Terror. It's just something to really bring the horror feeling back into State of Decay, and also to really make you afraid of the night, because this entity only appears at nighttime. However, the upside to it is that because it is this new kind of boss enemy, it has items that cannot be obtained anywhere else in the game. It has unique, exclusive items that only drop off the Night Terror, and they cannot be transferred into a non-Nightmare Zone. So you can't kill the Night Terror, loot it, and then bring it into your standard zone, or bring it into your, what's the other one, the Dread Zone. It has to be strictly in the Nightmare Zone. But who is the Night Terror? Basically, the story is going to be that it's a member of the Echo Labs, the scientists who were experimenting with the zombie stuff in order to make counter-zombie equipment, and this is basically a scientist that got diseased in an accidental experiment. And because they were doing weird stuff with the blood plague, because they were just kind of messing around with things, he turns into a brand new, extremely rare type of freak zombie, our first, like, boss enemy. And I imagine the Night Terror to look kind of like the monster from the Faith series of video games, which is a indie horror kind of pixelated Atari-looking game. And it's basically like this weird, pale, really spindly, agile, spider-like kind of enemy. But he's still definitely human, he's still definitely a zombie. Another characteristic that'll set him apart from the other zombies is that he will have a dynamic and expressive face. He won't have just a fixed facial expression. And he's going to switch, like basically when you catch glimpses of him, he'll either have a face of like bliss and happiness, like he's really, really happy to see you, or he'll have a face where he's just like absolutely terrified of you. Like he looks like he's looking at you like you're the terrible monster. And so it'll just be this weird disconnect between when you see him. But that's his background out of the way. I want to kind of keep it mysterious. You know, we don't need to know too much about the Night Terror. The more you know about a horror monster, the less frightening it is. You really should just kind of have this unknown. Maybe it should never be explained in the game what he is, but this would be kind of the background design of him. But the real question is, how does he interact with the game? Well, first off, like I said, he only appears in the Nightmare Zone. If you're playing on Standard Zone, you'll never have to deal with the Night Terror. If you're playing on Dread Zone, you'll never have to deal with the Night Terror. But he also has to drop, like, really awesome stuff. He's got to drop really super unique things that are really desirable, stuff that it makes you kind of want to brave the Nightmare Zone in order to have a chance to get it. But the way he works is, first off, he will not appear until a certain number of days have passed. You basically have to survive maybe, I don't know, 15 days into the Nightmare Zone before he's allowed to appear. The second issue is that he only appears at night, and he is permanently on the map. What I mean by that is once the game spawns him in, he doesn't like despawn because you went away somewhere. He doesn't despawn because of a population cap. He's always on the map somewhere. But in the daytime, he's like perfectly camouflaged. Like he's on the map, but you just can't find him. In the daytime, he's just hidden somewhere. But at night, that's when the Night Terror activates. And because he's constantly on the map, once he spawns in, he never spawns out. He's always on the map. What he does is he starts tracking you, and he starts coming after you. If you are in your base, he will not approach. He keeps a certain distance away from your base. But what he does is when you start going out, doing your missions, doing your supply runs at night, he begins to follow you in real time on the map. And because he's a really stealthy character, none of the detection abilities are able to find him. So if you have scouting, doesn't matter. If you've got the recon drone, doesn't matter. If you've got the lookout tower, doesn't matter. Nothing can detect him. And so he follows you, and he's looking for you, and when he gets to you, he doesn't necessarily attack. In fact, you might just walk right by him because he's this camouflage. Like maybe he actually has the ability to change the color of his skin and blend in. Maybe he has kind of a chameleonic feature. But the idea is that you might actually just walk right by him. Maybe he's hiding in some brush and you just don't even notice him. He doesn't attack just because you're right next to him. What the Night Terror does is wait for you to get into the middle of something. He might attack when you're looting. He might attack when you're in the middle of refueling your car. He might attack when you are doing something with the back of your vehicle. Maybe you're organizing your inventory in your truck. Maybe you open up your map. You open up your map and you're looking around, or you're messing with your inventory. He attacks whenever you are in the middle of something. In addition to that, the Night Terror can enter into one of your vehicles. So it could actually go inside one of your cars, especially if it can do it if one of the windows are broken. It can get in the car and it can actually attack you in the middle of you driving, and it might not do it immediately. You might just get in the car and you drive for a while. Like I said, it doesn't attack immediately, and you just might be driving for 30 seconds, a minute. Maybe you're driving for a while and it just attacks you inside of your own vehicle. It's designed to just make you really uncomfortable by attacking when you're not expecting it, and it's very quiet until it attacks. So the moment the Night Terror makes its attack, the first thing that happens is everything that's made out of glass, everything that's like a mirror, immediately just explodes, because when it attacks, it releases this just absolutely keening shriek. It's like, it's going to give you like tinnitus, like you're going to hear that ringing in your ears. And this is going to also be a relevant mechanic, but it's going to like frighten people. It's going to be this like horrible jump scare that people are going to hate. It's going to be like, you know, like that some just awful sounding shriek. Just, you don't want to hear it. It's going to give you that Shaggy face in that meme, like where someone's like grabbing him and he's like, oh, he's just going to give you this. You're not going to enjoy it. It's not going to be an enjoyable thing. But in addition to that, the relevance of it shattering all the windows is that it's a very mobile, kind of frog-like enemy where it's capable, and what it does is it does hit and run. So it'll startle you, it'll shake up the screen, you might even get like blurry vision, and like I said, you'll lose your hearing temporarily because you'll have like really bad tinnitus, and then it might attack you. But unlike the Pharaoh, which just kind of like mauls you, the Night Terror is a hit and run type of enemy. This is what makes it different. So it might hit you and then immediately crawl out of a window and onto the roof, and then it might come out of a different window and then make another attack on you. And it's extremely erratic. It might not even fight you to the death. It might just hit you once and then just run away. It might just go into the woods, but you don't know because it's such a stealth-like enemy that it's supposed to give you the fear of the unknown, because you don't know. Maybe it's on the roof of the house, and when you try to leave, it's going to pounce on you. Maybe it ran away. Maybe it's in the roof. Maybe while you are hiding inside of your house, it crawled into your vehicle. You don't know what it did, and that's what it does, this hit and run thing, to give you this uncertainty, give you this, like, I don't know what it chose to do. But it also kind of gives you a chance. It gives you a chance to not just die immediately. In addition to that, though, the shriek of the Night Terror frightens everything. The other zombies will not take advantage of it, because even those regular zombies, the other freaks, like even like Juggernauts, they cannot stand the sound of the Night Terror. So when the Night Terror attacks, you don't have to worry about other zombies following you up. It's a very personal battle against the Night Terror. At any rate, the most important thing to understand is that it's an ambush kind of enemy. It breaks all of the glass so that it has more ability to move through the windows. It also breaks the glass of your vehicle so it can actually infiltrate your vehicle. And it also gives you a reason to repair the vehicle so that, you know, you can keep the glass intact. But the other thing is that it typically doesn't fight to the death. And if you're able to fight it, if you're able to get some hits on it, it's very likely to run away. But the thing about the Night Terror is that the real threat of it is the overtime effects. So here are the mechanics come into play. If the Night Terror injures you, which is pretty likely since you're playing on Nightmare Zone, although because he doesn't show up on any other of the difficulties, you will get a new trait called Mutagenic Plague. You basically have been infected with this kind of advanced version of Blood Plague, and this stacks. What I mean by that is, if the character gets injured multiple times by the Night Terrors in successive battles, then this effect gets worse. And basically, it is a minimum capacity of Blood Plague, maybe 1/6. So for every injury a character gets from the Night Terror, they basically have 1/6 permanent Blood Plague that cannot be healed under any circumstances until you kill the Night Terror and you get a Night Terror Blood Plague sample. And what that means is if a character gets 6 injuries from the Night Terror, we could always balance it, you know, who knows how many injuries it takes, but after, let's just say 6, they get a unique type of Blood Plague that can't be cured. It won't kill them in 10 minutes. It'll kill them in 3 hours. Give you some time to actually get a last chance to get the Night Terror. But if they are killed by the Night Terror, they become one as well, unless you euthanize them. But I bet a lot of people will not have the balls to euthanize their community member, so they'll actually turn into another Night Terror. But you might say, okay, well, I just won't use the same community member, and that might not be a bad idea. The problem, though, is they got a physical new trait called Mutagenic Plague, but they also get a second character trait called Night Terrors. And this is a psychological thing where basically they are afraid of the night. They don't want to go out. They get this really terrible morale penalty. Now, you can counter it partially by bringing an ally, basically like a nightlight. If you bring an ally with you, then the part of the morale penalty is removed. The other problem, though, is that every night, if they are not the character that you're taking out on the mission, they just get nightly, nightly Night Terrors. Yes, they get nightly Night Terrors, and every night that passes, it gets worse and worse and worse. So their morale starts to drop every single day. It doesn't drop very quickly. It might be -1 morale per day. But the point is that they start getting these terrible, feverish Night Terrors. So even if you're not taking them out, this is supposed to be the pressure of, like, why don't you just ignore the Night Terror, or why don't you just stay in your base at night? Because if one of your characters does get injured, even if you just choose, I'm just never going out into the night ever again, you still have this problem. And the problem is that eventually, if the Night Terror is not defeated, and this character, the penalty just keeps stacking up and stacking up, eventually the psychological trauma of their just constant reoccurring Night Terrors is going to cause them to become erratic, and a variety of different things can happen. The first thing that could happen is one day you just come back to your base, and everyone is like, oh my god, like, I don't know, let's just say John. John hung himself. Like, he just got too much. He just couldn't handle it, and he just kills himself, and there'll just be an event where you go to the bedroom area and he's hung himself. Another possibility, though, could be you come back home and he turns into a hostile survivor and just starts attacking people. So he might kill multiple people before he goes down. Maybe you can subdue him. Like, if you beat him up with a melee weapon, you might be able to, like, beat him onto the ground and then, like, subdue him, and then you might be able to decide what you do with him. But the point is that you can't just ignore this problem. If you exile them, they might come back as once again, as a mechanic. They might actually come back and attack your community at night because they've just, like, gone completely mad. or they might go out into the night and get killed by the Night Terror, and then you've got 2 of them. Anyways, the next thing to know about the Night Terror is that it doesn't necessarily attack successively. In other words, let's just say it's day 17, so it's night 17. That doesn't mean that it'll attack, and let's say you got attacked on night 17. That doesn't mean it'll attack on night 18. It might skip a night. It might skip 5 nights. You don't know when it's going to attack. It might attack 3 nights in a row. In addition to that, if enough days go by, maybe, I don't know, like 15 days go by, the Night Terror can also just wander off and leave for a while, but you never know. You never know if it's just completely left or it's just stalking you and waiting. That's the whole deal about the Night Terror. You just don't know. And so there's always this kind of like, is the Night Terror there? The only time you can feel safe against the Night Terror is when you finally killed it, because when you do kill it, it has a very, very, very long respawn time. Like, it might take, like, I don't know, like 60 to 100 days to reappear. I don't know what would be good, but it would need to go away for a very long time so that you can kind of feel comfortable with the game again, so that it can then get you again. Anyways, now let's talk about how you actually fight back against the Night Terror. And the key to all of it is the Zed-Eye effect. You need to take the Zed-Eye, which gives you the night vision, and then you need to injure the Night Terror, and all of a sudden you'll be able to see its blood. Its blood glows. Well, its blood glows, or at least you perceive the blood to glow while the Zed-Eye is in effect, and that allows you to track it, because remember, it doesn't despawn unless it just completely leaves the map after X number of days, and that allows you to, like, chase after it. But here's the catch. The reason why the Night Terror prefers hit-and-run tactics is because one of its ability, it is a regenerating creature. It's capable of rapidly healing its wounds. So if you're not able to keep up with it, or if you're not able to really track it down, eventually it'll just stop bleeding and the trail will go dry. What's more is that the Night Terror is still after you too. It's kind of a game of cat and mouse where you might be tracking it, lose it, and then bam, it attacks you. Maybe you're like, couldn't find it, you were tracking it, you get back in your vehicle, you forgot that one of the windows were shattered, and it attacks you inside your own vehicle. The hunter can become the hunted. The other thing it can do is it can go to like any source of water and clean itself off. So that even if you've wounded it pretty badly, it can go into the water, clean itself, and while it'll still be fairly low on health, it'll stop bleeding. And that allows it to once again evade tracking. And the concept is that you might have to track the Night Terror over several days. And while it is capable of rapid regeneration, if you really, really severely injure it, it's not going to be able to regenerate completely to full health in just one night. Or rather, one day, which is when it goes, into hiding, and you just can't find it during the daytime. Oh man, I just came up with it just now hit me this another just insane idea I just came up with. So in addition to that, like I said, it's kind of a camouflage, almost kind of like a mimic type of creature. So here's one of the things it can do. This is an insane idea I just came up with. It can basically kind of compact its body, and it can fit into like really small spaces. So here's one of the things it can do. It can actually go into your vehicle's trunk and imitate an item. I don't mean it turned into the item, but basically you'll get a rucksack in your trunk, because it just went into one of your rucksacks, and so it's basically just kind of like pulling its body really tightly together, and it will appear in your inventory as a rucksack, but it will only do it if you have several rucksacks in there, so that it kind of, because if you didn't have any rucksacks, you'd be kind of like, what the heck, what's this rucksack do? But at any rate, that's the point. You open up your trunk and you're like, what the heck, I don't remember this being in there. So when you mouse over, when you interact with it, and when you basically look at it, it just bursts out of the trunk and attacks you. It's just something like this is the kind of enemy I'm imagining it to be. Just this enemy that just makes you want to like quit the game. You're just like, I want you to not want to go out at night. That's the idea of this Night Terror. At any rate, you can kind of think of like, I haven't thought about like, how do you actually kill the thing? That's not really something. I mean, you could shoot it, you could probably like attack it, burn it, whatever you can. The issue mainly is finding it and trying to corner it in a way that it can escape. Because like I said, it's very agile. It can walk up walls, it can walk along the ceiling, it can climb its way through, it can just snake in and out of various windows. But the point, and it's fairly healthy. It's got a decent amount of health. It does okay damage. It's not, this enemy really isn't about doing severe damage. It's more about just making you hate going out at night. It's really just there to be a torment, or just something that it needs to do enough damage where you do fear it, but it's more about just the dread of going out at night. In addition to that, I haven't thought about what kind of items it would drop. It would have to be like really awesome, really cool stuff, as well as some stuff that's themed after the Night Terror itself, stuff that you could use elsewhere in the game. But you guys can like think about that. Like if you got any ideas like what kind of items it would drop, etc., just tell me down in the comments section. But that's my idea. That's what I think should be added into State of Decay. Something that really adds the sense of horror back into the game. Some kind of new enemy that doesn't behave like any other enemy in the game. And the fact that it's a very rare enemy, it just needs to really take advantage of that and just be a very memorable enemy that seldomly appears, but you'll never forget it. But hey, you know what? That is that. Let me know down in the comments section what you think about this enemy. Like I said, I already know that there's no way Undead Labs would add an enemy as complicated as this into the game, but tell me what you think. This is the kind of stuff I would want to see in State of Decay 2. People are always asking, what do I want to see? This is what I would want to see in the game, regardless of how ridiculous or unrealistic it would be to implement something like it. At any rate, let me know what you think down in the comments section. Like this video if it was entertaining. Subscribe for future State of Decay 2 content. Of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.